one car.
The Wade and Carter Show is a paid program that KHMC Magic 95 assumes no responsibility for its content, and the Wade and Carter Show bears all responsibilities for their opinions and guests on their show.
Call to remove a statue in Victoria. The riots wrecking COVID response in some cities. A Democrat endorses Trump for president. All that and more coming up in today's Wade and Carter Show.
Is Catherine McCaney, Miss McCaney, the one that's 80 something?
I think so.
Rule number 1. No touching of the hair or face.
Could have hurried up and done this.
And that's it. Now let's do this.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
How are you today?
Awesome.
Good.
I had to just check.
You had to check your pulse.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Awesome.
I think I'm good.
Carotid.
Let's do this.
Victoria weather shows it to be 64 degrees in the middle of June in Victoria, Texas. Heading to a high today of 96. Sunny skies for the foreseeable future. Like all next week. Sunny.
No real rain.
Yeah. Which means for sure this afternoon we'll get a little sun shower.
Yeah. So where do we want to start?
Global
Well,
warming.
let me see who's all in first. We'll start there, as we do most mornings. Almost feels like a romper room when we
With
start.
who's in?
We'll see who's all in this morning. I know Marvin Makers is in because that popped up.
Marvin Hamlish.
What did I do? Jacking stuff up now. Bobby Leister, good morning. Christina Wise, Sheriff Ladderback, he'll
Coming
join us
in.
tomorrow.
Can't wait for that.
No, that should be good. BJ Nelson, good morning. Clayton Help, still at 63 YouTube subscribers. Scott Tomko, good morning. CW Bean.
What do you think the chances
Never
are
heard.
that Sheriff Ladderback will come in and opine that defunding the police is a good idea?
Slim to none.
Yeah. Slim just left town.
Yeah.
Right. I'm with you.
And none went with them.
Right.
There's Bob Watley, Scott Snow, Karen Webb.
Is that not the dumbest thing we've ever heard? I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it that every budget cycle that the sheriff's office has to go down and lobby to the commissioner's court, hey, we need more money, we need funding for this, we need funding for that. I always come back to something T. Michael O'Connor told me. We were visiting about law enforcement and that natural butting of heads between the guy that stands between you and taxes, Judge Zeller, the guy that you want saying, hey, do you really need it? Do you need 8 new Tahoes? Could you get by with 6? And the guy that stands between you and trouble, your local law enforcement officer. Although now I've been told if we defund that when you call 911, they're going to send out prayers and thoughts.
Yeah.
We're not going to send out a law enforcement officer. We're sending prayers and thoughts to you. Have a good day. Good luck. Someone's breaking into my house. They're coming in the window.
I hope and pray for you.
Prayers and thoughts, baby.
Yeah.
We're sending you prayers and thoughts from our newly defunded department.
Well, you know what? It's state. You couldn't send out prayers. Government official. Got to separate state and church.
Right?
You know,
Just happy thoughts.
Just thoughts.
Happy thoughts from Bob Ross.
My thoughts are with you.
The Bob Ross Emergency Hotline. Prayers and happy thoughts. So, but
Chris
T. Michael
Conrad's
said,
in, Sky Sanchez, Don Posey, Lisa Poole.
T. Michael said, you can't look at law enforcement, no matter how you feel about the expenses, you can't look at it as an expense. You have to look at it as an investment. That changed the way I looked at the argument. How much are we? Now, certainly it peaks. I mean, you know, I don't believe that every sheriff's deputy needs a bazooka, flamethrower in the trunk. I mean, I'm with you. But it's an investment in your community.
And I don't know. my perception is I think our sheriff's office and our city police run fairly lean.
They were intimidating because the call volume has gone like this.
But I get a sense from living in other cities and just seeing some of the stuff that other cities are involved in. They don't do what businesses do and try to find efficiencies to either save money or reallocate expenses, right?
Okay. I mean, how so? What have I missed?
Well, there just seems to be, if de Blasio can say, well, we can, if right off the top of his head, he can pick a number and say, we can defund the police by this much.
Oh, yeah. We can't do that here.
Then I'm thinking he's obviously knows that that's what I'm saying.
Really strong police union, really lobbies for lots of funds up there. Did you hear those the way they talk? You know, it's like, hey, from New York, man,
Yeah.
we're good people. We're good people. We're cops.
But there's a
Not like
lot of government that just doesn't seem to ever put the check on and
Right.
and pump the brakes and really look for efficiencies. It's just, and I mean, my hometown, Calgary, is just in this time of COVID, in a time where the oil industry is down in Canada, even worse than it wasn't that bad until COVID hit in Texas, but the oil and gas industry in Canada had been decimated, particularly in Alberta, because the governments up there are a bunch of morons and don't want to allow heavy oil from the oil sands to go.
These are purely ash. You know, I don't necessarily share these harsh opinions.
I wouldn't think you would.
Sorry.
But instead of finding a way in a situation where you've had people not working, they go and raise property taxes and business taxes.
Because the government's got to come first. The government's got to be fed. You've got to feed the government so the government can do more for you. That's just socialism, and that just sums up Canada in one fell swoop.
Trey Molina, failed swoop in some cases.
I don't even know what
swoop,
that means.
Me either.
I don't.
Patrick Strauss, good morning. BJ Nelson says you could call all our names and we could all say here. She says she was actually on Romper Room in the late 60s in Houston. Romper Room was in Toronto in Canada. That was it. There was no Romper Room in Calgary. We had the Buckshot Show. It was way better than Romper Room.
So now BJ Nelson is also a TV star, in addition to being Clayton Helt, Lisa Poole, Judge Posey. Good morning, sir.
Jamie
Zeller,
Matt Boucher, Lacey
Now,
Merriman.
see, I would trade Judge Posey for Jamie Zeller. You see what I'm saying? I mean, like on the open street, like a clandestine operation. I'd have my trench coat on.
Yep.
Send her over, and I'd send the judge that way, and I'd bring Jamie this way.
I see what you're saying.
In like a hostage
exchange. I
Yeah.
see what you're saying. Now I understand.
But I would also have a vest bomb strapped to Judge Posey so I could get the perpetrators, and he would gladly sacrifice.
I don't think so.
He might.
Paul Ebner, Larry Lay, Stephen Kidder.
I've been watching too much Homeland.
Apparently so.
You know,
Apparently
I'm sorry.
so.
I don't know why my brain went that way. They just blow people up and clandestine stuff.
Kevin Myers, CW Bean says even Dumb Biden said no defunding.
Yeah.
John Houghton agrees. How else could they pay for all the social programs in Canada?
Oh, Canada.
Oh, see, Chris Conner, they had a romper room in Winnipeg. Nice. Nobody lived in Winnipeg. Surprised they had a romper room. Must have been government funded.
Romper room.
There's my beautiful wife Cheryl checking in. J Dub.
Romper room, Winnipeg. Turned into Girls Gone Wild, Edmonton.
Adam Daughtry, H.R. Mallory. Yeah. There was an old
Girls
joke.
Gone Wild, Vancouver on cocaine.
There was a joke back in the day. Flin Flon, Manitoba, city up north.
What's it called?
Flin Flon.
Flim Flon.
Flin
Flin
Flon.
Flon. So
F-L-O-N.
Flin, and then a Mexican custard dessert. Flin Flon. Where they
Flon, I think is
cheese
French.
curds and treat.
Well, the old joke was the only thing to come out of Flin Flon were hockey players and hookers.
Nice. Steers and queers, that's the only thing come out of Texas.
Because at one point, two of the best hockey players in the NHL, I think back when there
From
were only 12 teams were from Flin Flon. What are the
Manitoba.
odds?
Is it Manitoba?
Yeah, Manitoba. What are the odds? See, Judge Posey doesn't know how to respond to what you said. See, I've got your back, Judge. I wouldn't
Sir,
strap a bomb to
And
you.
that is why we love you right there.
Yeah.
That is, folks, you have no idea.
There's no way to respond to that.
Now, Ben
Judge.
Zeller checked in, and you know what's funny? Like 20 years from now, I can see Ben Zeller saying, I just don't know how to respond to that. Constant media scrutiny. That's what keeps people on their toes, right?
Yeah.
That makes me laugh.
BJ Nelson
Well played, Judge.
getting us into,
Is she bringing this back to a serious point?
yeah.
What does it say? What does it
Statue
say?
desecration needs to stop. Where were the police last night in Richmond, Virginia? I went to bed early. I wasn't up on that one. Sorry.
Yeah, see, where Ash and I have been to a point all for the historical value of some of these statues, taking them down, moving them to museums and things like that. But you don't want to say this museum was erected in 1912 and then the spray paint was from the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020. Things still should not be defaced.
No, not at all.
So you did some work. By the way,
There's
as a little kid, I loved going and looking at that statue. And when I was impressionable, and I like to think I'm still impressionable, but when I was naive and little, I never felt any sense of pride of being from the quote unquote South, nor did I feel like that statue was in any way a slam to anybody who was living at the time. And I don't think that statue is a slam to anybody that's living at the time now.
Brian Simon says, I don't know how NYPD can cut $150 million. They have an authorized strength of around 38,000 officers for the largest city in the U.S. There are blocks in New York with a higher population density than our entire city. They are playing with fire if they cut NYPD to that magnitude.
No doubt.
I would think because $150 million seems like a lot of money, but I don't know what their total budget is. But it tells me if de Blasio, and I don't trust de Blasio, but if that's the number that pops off his head, maybe there's, that's what he's got.
They want anarchy. They do. They want it. The left wants anarchy. The only way they can win anything is to create anarchy and then blame Trump for it.
But let's not forget, this is the city that also sent cops around to find store owners who were selling big gulps, right?
Right.
After they outlawed them. So maybe there's a little bit of pork in that budget. I don't know.
So what did you find out when you went?
Tom Price checking in. Maybe when the guy go.
You want some more people get in before you go on?
Adam Sugar, Ron Koshin. No, I'm not going to rant. I'm going to present some facts. But maybe let's take our first break so then we're not interrupted.
Could I prod you into a rant?
No.
We've
not on
put
this
a
one,
call
I
out.
think.
We've asked for Lisa Ruiz. She was one of the organizers of the Black Lives Matter.
And I believe the organizer of the petition to remove the Confederate soldier statue downtown.
The petition to remove the Confederate soldier memorial statue downtown. So we'd like for her to call us. If you know Lisa, please reach out to her. She's apparently a very intelligent person. 575-9509. We'd like to visit with her.
Very engaged in local efforts, so we would like to get her side of the story.
Speaking of engaged in local efforts, Allen's Wrecker Service, engaged, hooked up
That's
local matters of consequence. 578-6300. That's the magic number to reach Alan and Janet. Little Alan, they'll come out, grab everything from a Yugo to a big rig. They can haul the whole shebang. That's it. That's really that in a nutshell. Whatever you've got. You got a big truck on the side of the road trying to salvage a load. You got 7 women on your mind. 4 that want to own you. 2 that want to stun you. Come on. Call Allen's Rigger Service. 578-6300. Reach out to VCS Companies, Rocket Oilfield Services, the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer. All part of the Hartman Communication Empire. Kerr Boulevard, just inside the loop off Main. Go by, get all your new iPhone accessories, Samsung, get a new tablet, iPad, whatever you need.
Whatever you need, they got it all.
All the charging stuff that works for long periods of time and doesn't fall apart. The VCS companies with their surveillance, security, 1080p cameras, they've got it all too for your business or home. Surround sound, home theater, all of that is at the VCS companies and the Rocky Oilfield Services. It deals with all kinds of pipeline, rights of way, gates,
fencing, land clearing,
all that
stuff.
You call them,
site prep,
and they'll take care of you. Once you get your land cleared, call Clayton Help, 564-8864. That's Clayton's cell number. Clayton's putting on a big fishing tournament coming up soon. It's July 24th and 25th, I think. We'll get some more details from him on that. I talked to Bree Hanchett, our banker extraordinaire of prosperity, who said that she's on a team with Clayton. So
nice.
564-8864.
My money's on Bree to catch more fish.
Oh, yeah. No, Clayton's a real serious fisherman. Yeah, real serious. Qualified. But reach out to them whether you need a Red Iron and Pearland building, a he shed, a she shed, barn dominium, whatever you need, they can do it. And they've been doing it for a long time for a lot of folks, and now they'll do it specifically for you. Once it's done, call Chesnick Furniture Company. 100 years in downtown Victoria, since before there was a downtown. Well, that's all there was that's Victoria. Kind of like going to Cuero. That's all it is, Cuero. Our signal doesn't reach there. It's okay to disparage Cuero. They don't know. They don't know we're talking about them. But Chesnick and Love make your house a home, and you just do better at Chesnick. 50% off all furniture during their 100-year celebration. It's incredible. You stop and think about it. Through World War II, through the Vietnam era, through the Vietnam War,
through the Depression,
through the pandemic, Chesnick, excelling and selling. Reach out to them today.
Stop on by 116 West One Lane.
Corner of One Linden Bridge, right by Santa Rosa.
So we knew it was coming. It was just a matter of time. I think you and I talked about this the last time there was a movement afoot to remove some statues. And I think we even said, when are they going to come for the one in De Leon Plaza, right? Well, they're coming for it, folks.
And the thing is, I have mixed emotions because Ash and I have both said, this is why I want to talk to Lisa Ruiz. I want to know where a 41-year-old Hispanic woman is so outraged.
Well, you're assuming she's Hispanic. She might be married and just and inherited the surname. Lisa, I don't know anything about her.
Good point. So that's why I want to talk to her. And it's not antagonistic. I want to be educated on this because Ash and I have each said that we have no problem moving statues. That's fine. You want to move it? Let's move it.
And BJ Nelson says she's been to Monument Row, and it's almost a museum, which then leads me to think, okay, it's a public space, publicly funded. I'm making assumptions here because I know a lot of these statues were erected by people and groups way back when. So necessarily it wasn't public money that went into the statues, but public space was donated for them. My impression of Monument Row in Richmond is almost like a museum. If that's the case, don't follow the logic here. If your logic is to get rid of these things in public space, then aren't you actually for defunding public money for public museums?
Yes.
Because if there's things like this in a museum, wouldn't it offend you there as much as it would in a public space if it's a public museum?
In a museum, it seems to me it's being more glorified than it is just.
Can be. I look at it maybe as being protected and telling the story, but.
Right. Well, so this is one. In fact, this is the first time that I can recall that I wish I had a communicative relationship with Chris Cobbler at The Advocate. I would love to see what the Victoria Advocate printed about the installation of this Confederate monument in 1912. I'd like to see what they said about it in 1912. So 108 years ago.
Yeah, and I'll get Sky. Please watch the F-bombs. I'll just ask for that to keep it civil.
Come on,
I didn't mean to call you out, but you dropped one there. So, I said I went down and took a look at what the inscription is on the Confederate soldier statue at De Leon Plaza.
I've never read it. I just always thought it was cool.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of on the backside, so it is tough to see, but. The statue is a picture of a male soldier, and maybe that offends some people,
misogynistic.
I'm assuming it's a soldier. It's a gentleman holding a rifle.
But he looks ragtag, doesn't he? He
Yeah, I
looks
mean, there's no
beleaguered.
there's no
Glorification.
there's no army, there's no Confederate army.
Right, it's not
uniform.
like a statue with a gray uniform on.
No,
And the
none
reason
of
we're
that.
telling you all about it is 90% of you have never even seen it.
It's on. I'm assuming that's pink granite.
That is granite. It's beautiful.
The statue itself is sort of gray, and I'm assuming
It's
maybe
green
from copper because it's
Yeah.
probably copper in it. And there's a wreath on the front side, the side that faces what is
Main
now
Street.
Prosperity Bank. On the back side, there's a plaque, and here's the inscription on the plaque: "To the soldiers of the Confederate States of America. This monument is dedicated by the William P. Rogers Chapter United Daughters of the Confederacy, Victoria, Texas, June the 3rd, AD 1912. On civilization's height, immutable they stand." That's it. I'm trying to find out where in that inscription it might offend you or would offend anybody.
By the way, the soldiers of the Confederacy included black soldiers as well. I mean, there were soldiers on both sides that were of African descent.
I mean, if that's the case, let's change the plaque on it to the soldiers who fought in the Civil War and gave their lives.
And make it all inclusive, because it's a nondescript. It's just, I've always thought of it as showing the lack of means for the South. That's what when I look at the guy's ragtag, he's got like a bandana tied around. He's like a gorilla. He's got a musket.
But knowing the times, it was a lot of militia fighting. They weren't outfitting everybody in the Confederate and Union Army uniforms, right?
Correct. They didn't have the funds.
And I'm betting there's probably some Texans that went and fought on the Union side as well. And there were probably a lot of people that just went and fought because they didn't know anything. They were told they're coming for us. Pick up your arms. Let's go.
You've got some comments you should read.
Yeah.
I haven't read.
And I don't agree with it with moving these things as akin to erasing history, because it's not. The history's still there.
Well, my deal is this, and it's not. And this is what I would want to ask Miss Ruiz, like specifically. Where does are you hurting on behalf of people? Because this is unfortunately what I call fake outrage. It's been there 108 years, and I should be the first one to admit, it's just because it's always been doesn't mean it should be. I've got no problem with that. It's just why right now we don't have, and I'm not naive and I'm not ignorant, we don't have, certainly to the degree of other places, the racial tensions in our community that other towns have to endure.
I would argue my some people are trying to stir them up.
There you go. The fake outrage, the divisiveness of, well, let's take that down. Well, wait a minute. My great-great-great-granddaddy fought for the South. Oh, well, then you've got white privilege.
Well, then you're a racist.
You're a racist. And, well, okay. It's kind of like, okay. And that's a conversation that I think we ought to have. But I find it in this community, sometimes we do kind of live in a vacuum. Like nothing ever changes. It's the same as it's ever been. It's like Groundhog Day in Victoria. But I just wonder where we're at as a community that now we're going to be like every other city. Well, every other real city, they have a Black Lives Matter. Let's go protest. It was dumb. Sorry, that was dumb. 2 weeks late. Dumb.
Stephen Kidder says, I have no emotional attachment to a statue I've never noticed before. Leave it up, take it down. Makes no difference to me. If I want history, I bet I can find it elsewhere.
A legit point. I mean, I'm almost as happy. If it was gone tomorrow and replaced with a statue of Brother Gary Moses, I'd be just as happy.
Well,
But we can just say that that's a young Gary Moses because I think Gary probably did fight
Yeah.
in the Civil War.
Yeah.
Although he was a double agent,
Well,
he was on both sides and wanted everybody happy.
Here's what I want to see happen. The Daughters of the Confederacy raised the money for the statue, put the statue up. The city obviously gave them that corner of land. Then you need to raise the money. If you really want the statue down and moved, you need to raise the money to do so and have it put somewhere, maybe in the nave, maybe the Museum of the Coastal Bend. That would seem a logical place for something like this.
Or you could put it out in front of the nave. I mean, it could be on the grounds of the museum where it's a part of our history. It should not be defaced. It should not be messed with. A lot of this stuff, it's unfortunate because I'm just getting old and crotchety. These people that are 18 to 28 that think they've got the world figured out, and they're just dumb. They are. There's a lot of really dumb people out there, and there are. I'm not going to sugarcoat that for you folks.
No,
we got some real idiots living in this town.
Every town.
Yeah,
not gonna lie. It's just
we're just like every other town. Yeah,
you gotta have idiots to balance out those that are really good.
Right. What did Dr. Klimacek say? She's pretty sharp. She probably wrote a paper on this.
We have no right to later the dedication of on the monument to alter. I'm sure that says.
Right.
I'm sure the people who donated that statue thought a long time on what they wanted that to say. Changing it affects the meaning. Need to either keep it and embrace it or move it.
Fair enough. I just don't think that having that statue downtown makes our community look like, oh, they're just a bunch of backwards rednecks down there. And I know that's part of it, but I want to understand where Lisa Ruiz stands.
No, I would too.
Because if folks, when you get in a situation, certainly at the community level, where you're saying, well, we've got to do something. Everybody else is doing something. Let's host our own protest. Stupid.
We'd already had 3 of them, and apparently that wasn't good enough.
Be a leader. This Pickens lady. Well, I wish she'd call us too and talk to us about her outrage. I wish any of you would call us, but trust me, I'm keen that now thousands of people listen. We're not going to belittle you. If you've got a different opinion, own it. Step up and own it. And we do it every day. Step up here and own your opinion and give us a call and go, well, here's where you're wrong.
575-9509.
Here's why this ought to happen. We'd love to hear from you. Give you the floor.
And NASCAR announced they're going to ban the Confederate flag, and this one I don't have a problem with, to be honest. The Confederate flag has become a symbol of racism.
You know what? And I don't have a problem with that either. I think think about it, because you have to be somewhat racist to have that situation come up. Think about it. If you're a NASCAR fan, that you just got stereotyped, you just got profiled as a redneck racist who probably wants the General Lee making laps at Daytona. Not a corporate genius like,
DuPont?
Well, and all the companies that are involved. Why didn't DuPont say, we don't want to be associated with racing because you've got that symbol? Well, it's not an official NASCAR symbol.
No, it's not.
Tide. It goes on and on. But Hendricks Motorsports is a genius of marketing. Hendricks Motorsports has multiple General Motors dealerships. They're clearly not in the racism promotion business.
Marine Corps banned the Confederate flag as well.
Yeah,
but there's a logic out there that if you didn't ban the Confederate flag, it's traitorous to fly it because they lost. So extending that logic out, we can't fly the French flag anymore. We can't fly the Spanish flag, and we can't fly the Mexican flag because we kicked their butts in every war, and it would be traitorous.
We don't want the Mexican flag flying anywhere in public anymore in this country because they lost. And that is the logic that was employed to say, well, you shouldn't be flying that Confederate flag because the Confederacy was defeated. And it's traitorous to fly that flag anywhere near the United States flag. But
The only flag that should be flying other than the U.S. flag in this country, then, by that logic, is the Canadian flag because we won the War of 1812.
there you have it.
But what's next? And I don't see this happening because I've never known anybody to be outraged on
Did you
this.
see any of this happening? The
Well, no.
garbage that's going on in this
No.
country.
No, to be honest, no. I read about it in history books from the 1950s and 60s. To be
I mean,
honest.
if I were reading a Brad Thor novel, if I were reading a John Grisham novel and came across chapters where Donald Trump was president and, on and on and on, I mean, it'd be like reading a book based on 2036 or 2030, whatever that would be, whatever year that would be. Yeah, 2036. And seeing that Tiger Woods is running for president, you're like, that's a joke. And then he is.
And Adam Sugar brings up something that to me, and why another reason I have a problem with this is you had people, I mean, it's paying tribute to those who fought and died in a war.
Right.
He says, if one day a statue's donated to the Marines I fought with and the pansies of the future decide they don't like our cause, are they going to tear it down?
Yes, they will. The
Wow.
pansies of the future, and the key word is pansies.
Is that going to happen to the D-Day memorials in France at some point?
They were trespassing. They weren't invited there.
Well,
they were trespassing when they stormed Omaha Beach. That was somebody else's land.
Yeah, because we invited the Germans in.
Right.
We didn't put up a fight. We let them come.
That's not our problem. That wasn't our war. You'd all be speaking German, folks.
You see where this is going, folks?
When you start applying things like that, because it's the way you feel, and this is where the left always loses me, man. They get their little feelers out. It just doesn't feel right that in 2020 we've got any reference anywhere
To anything that might offend somebody.
right. And I'm offended on behalf of those people that could be offended if
But
they
aren't.
knew what they.
But if they only knew what they should be offended.
And you know what's
Bye.
racist about it? When you're offended on behalf of someone else, you are condescending to them. They're too stupid to be offended, so I'm offended for them. I've got to stand up for these people, just like the Democratic Party. I've got to take care of the black people because they're not smart enough to do it on their own. And this is where these people come in now. Oh, I'm so offended on behalf of minorities. I'm going to stage a protest. Idiots. Idiots.
Well, nobody calls. I guess we can move on.
The gutless idiots. Those without a true voice who won't step up. Because we know you listen.
James Kerr says, well, I don't embrace the Confederate battle flag now because I see what it has come to be representative
Correct.
of.
Bless you for that. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you have the freedom of speech to wear that flag on your shirt, if it were to offend a brother you haven't made yet, why do that? I don't own anything in my home with a Confederate flag on it. I did when I was a kid. I did.
Growing up in Canada, I had no idea what the Confederate flag meant other than the fact it was on the top of the General Lee, and it looked pretty darn cool when Bo and Luke Duke were running away from Roscoe P. Coltrane every Friday night.
That's a great one, isn't it? We looked at it as a symbol of rebellion. We looked at it as a symbol of our Southern heritage, but I never looked at it as a symbol of oppression. But guess what?
You were never oppressed.
People do, and as a result, I quit wearing it. Great example. So flash forward to modern day, and when all this stuff started coming out, I really got soured on Nike way back when Nike fueled the fire of not even a misunderstanding. It was a non-issue between Tiger Woods and a guy named Fuzzy Zeller, and the media just pillaged Mr. Zeller, and Tiger felt so bad about it. And I know all this stuff secondhand, but I know people that were there personally, and it was a terrible, terrible injustice done to Zeller by Nike. And then you flash forward, and Nike has capitalized in great effort on the Colin Kaepernick protest. Whether Colin Kaepernick is right or wrong, it doesn't matter. What I think about Colin Kaepernick doesn't matter, except that a major corporation did everything they could to fuel that for their own benefit. I'm an Adidas guy now. It's plain and simple. That's the first time I've ever said it. I just don't buy anything with Nike on it anymore. No, not going to promote them.
Oh, it was a calculated marketing ploy.
No doubt.
No doubt.
No doubt. I just said that's my protest. But I'm not going to go around. I don't go up to people I don't know and go, "You're wearing Nike gear? You're an idiot." I don't do that.
How are people going to feel if all of a sudden they say, you know what? There was a slaughtering of Texans in Goliad. I want the Presidio gone.
Got to be gone. It offends people.
Right? It offends me. Some of my relatives were there. They were promised their freedom, and then they were shot and killed.
Yep. I'll tell you, I'll give you folks a little hint as we stand here on the Tejano station. This Mexican flag deal, it ain't going away. I mean, and that's fine. We have a direct border with Mexico. It doesn't. I don't think it needs to fly in public places like the American flag, the Texas flag, and the Mexico flag. This is not Mexico. This is the United States of America. However, I have a problem with all these people who are just clamoring, caravanning, begging, stealing, pleading, selling themselves, slinking into our country under the cloak of darkness. And then they move into a little hovel and hang out their flag from their, southern South American country, like they claimed it for Honduras or Guatemala. Stop that. You sold your soul to get here, especially if you came legally. Embrace, assimilate, become an American. The reason we have so many problems in our country right now, we don't have a true American identity. We're an oleo. We're a hodgepodge. Having these Canadians doesn't help. They're trouble.
I'd proudly fly my Canadian flag as well.
Right? Well, you have dual citizenship. You're
Embrace it.
I think it's interesting that
Lisa Poole says, "Shh, Ash, don't give me any ideas."
on the back side of your barn, I think it's interesting. There's a hammer and sickle, but that's not. Who am I to judge? Maybe those are farm tools. I don't know.
They were.
They don't. Just because you sleep in animal farm pajamas.
Can't cut crops and hammer horseshoes without them.
That's exactly right. The working man, the People's Party. Hey, comrade.
Ah.
Oh, folks, today's a great day to get to Veracruz. Yesterday was Caldo Wednesday, but today is Thursday, and you will be pleased.
Today is after Caldo Wednesday.
The day after Caldo Wednesday. Get to Veracruz. I'm telling you, the guacamole, I don't know if this is the height of avocado season, but the guacamole has been so good. So it's just got a creaminess to it that you just can't beat. I'm telling you.
576-6015. You can still get it to go. You can still get it delivered.
And more exciting, you can go in and sit down, have the great service. They're still practicing social distancing. The wait staff is still wearing a mask. If that makes you feel good, go on in. You'll be glad you did.
Razor IT Solutions. Give John Paul Hull a call if you need anything to do with computers, analytics, how to make your business more profitable on the interwebs. He'll help you figure it all out. Secure your business, secure your website, keep it hacker proof.
Yeah.
They'll do it all. Keep your data safe, unbreachable. John Paul's got all the answers, and he'll answer the questions that you don't even know you have yet.
Yep. Today's a great day to go to atzenhofer.com. You know you're sitting at your desk and you ain't doing nothing. Go to atzenhofer.com. You can sort it price low to high. See if there's something there you want to grab that's a bargain. You can price it high to low and start looking at the Cadillacs, Chevys, Mazdas, Mitsubishis. They've got a used inventory, pre-owned. The used cars get shipped off. Sure, they'll take your old work truck as a trade-in, but they're not going to wash it and put it on their lot. They're going to send that to the auction. But if you're a guy that goes in there with a 2018 with 10,000 miles on it because Mama wants a new Cadillac. They're going to clean that truck up, make it just like new, put it out on the pre-owned lot, and they're going to sell it right. They service all makes and models. They fix all kinds of dents and dings. Go see Atzenhower today. Since
I'd have said
1926.
dings and dents, but
Dings and dents. Well, I'm in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah,
the water
I
goes
know.
down the toilet the other way at
Yeah.
my house.
I go from small.
Is that a
large
true
to ding to
story?
dent. I don't know. I don't think so.
I've been on both sides of the equator,
You
but I've
didn't
never
pay
really
attention?
studied it. Now, when I'm on that side of the equator, I'm not usually really,
Yeah.
alert.
Yeah, understand.
Get by Atzenhower today, one way or the other, either online or in person. Great company, Simply Victoria's dealership since 1926. White Trash Services blowing and going and growing.
550-1826.
If you need regular trash service in the 6-county area, or if you need a special project, a roll-off dumpster, if you're going to have Clayton Help come out and he needs a dumpster, call BJ and Scott Nelson and have them help you have a trash-tastic day.
Here's an interesting tidbit from BJ. When they decided on the name, did some research, and decided that they might offend a few, but it made so many more people happy.
It's a calculated thing, and it's a pun, And I always looked at it before I knew BJ and realized now that she's a Romper Room TV star. She does her own commercials on other programs. I mean, she's a media savvy genius.
These programs can't tell a story like we can.
Right. Before I knew that, I always thought this is a group of people that have a sense of humor. I mean, I did not know the Nelsons. Love them to death. They're super people. They do have a sense of humor. But, white trash is that's kind of
Stereotypical in a way.
stereotypical of me.
But it's a play on words and a pun, and
Absolutely.
it's genius in my
It really
opinion.
made me laugh.
Yeah.
Yep. Look at that. Torn Bells speaking in like sound bites. Nelson's, great people, great business. Torn, out of business, retired, bald. Torn Bells.
Jenna West checking in. Good morning to you. Jody Pickett, Torm Bales, Bobby Leister.
We put TV out of business. He'd probably still be in business without us.
Probably.
Love that.
Trey Molina says, let's
Trey Molina.
throw us a bone, talk some sports. Anything. He'll take curling at this point.
Well, in other
We
news,
talk sports.
Chris Delcani, athletic director of the University of Texas, says that Texas will definitely play football in the fall. They aren't certain yet. He also said that definitely there'll be people in the stands. Now, it may be, honestly, I wouldn't be, knowing UT, it wouldn't surprise me if they said, for $1,000, you can sit on the 50. For 800, you can sit on the 40. And then we can only put 500 people in there. There you go. There's 500 grand. And then they're going to start doing that. That wouldn't surprise me at all if there wasn't a lottery. But it would be like Texas.
And then given the opportunity, we pull your name. Hey, where do you want to sit? Here's what it's going to cost. If you don't want to pay it,
Those are the
next one. Yep.
Torn Bells. It's a great time to be out of business. He makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Yep.
This at a time when COVID cases in Texas are going up
It does.
exponentially, folks.
I don't know if
Bad
cases are
term.
going up, but hospital admissions have risen this week almost on a daily basis. The other day, Kerry Moses just walked in and says he's got sports. Hang on, Funky. The number was of people in Texas admitted to the hospital, and I think it was Tuesday, and it might have been Monday and Tuesday. It was like 2,093, and the next day was like 2,300 and change on the day. So that's people admitted to the hospital, not people dying.
And I think the number of cases are going up, which just means you're test positive for the virus. Doesn't mean you're actually symptomatic. Doesn't mean anything other than that.
Right. And then the other side of that is I wonder if hospitals are still receiving federal funding for admitting people with COVID.
And until all 7 billion people on the planet are confirmed to have had the COVID, the numbers will just go up.
And
They will never go down.
We don't know if once you've got it, you can't get it again. We don't know that. Well, why did DJ say, what do you do with your time? Oh, she's talking about Torn, I guess.
Maybe so, yeah.
Torn Bales is still tremendously active.
Yeah.
I do some work for Torn, and he's always rehabbing properties. Just one of those understated, quiet downtown guys that really does everything he can to make Victoria a better city.
Peter McNally checking in, Clayton Meyer, Katina Arterberry. Christina Wise says testing is going up, so more people are getting tested. Except now in the inner cities that were completely demolished by the rioters.
Yeah, did you see that? Dr.
Oh, excuse
Burks?
me, undocumented shoppers was how I saw them sarcastically referred to on Twitter. Thought that was pretty good.
I love that. I tried to stay, I told you, I don't know if I told the listeners, I tried to stage my own protest the other day. I thought I was being quite reasonable. Officer Buck dissuaded me from my plan. My plan was not to loot or to break windows or to spray paint anything. But like many looters that I saw, I simply wanted Officer Buck to meet me over at Best Buy. I was going to walk in shortly before they closed. I wasn't even going to be greedy. I wasn't going 75-inch 4K. I just wanted a 55-inch smart TV. I was going to simply get Officer Buck to help me load that into my SUV and drive home. That was my protest. No property damage, no defacing, no spray paint, no foul language.
Better yet,
no violence.
No payments for 5 years and no money out of your pocket.
Right? And that's my deal, is that I was going to do that in the name of protest, and I thought I was compromising. He told me, please don't do that. I said, yes, sir. I mean, I guess I could have fallen on the ground and accused him of assaulting me. It just didn't make sense at the time.
Steve Kidder says it's so good you have real life filters in your life, Brent.
Right.
Yeah. Clayton Meyer says hospital admissions going up, probably a good thing. People are now getting treatment versus before staying at home. He'd like to know how many people died at home because they were scared to go into the hospital because of the hysteria. So probably a valid question. Maybe a valid point.
I got a question for you.
For me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I know that we share, Ash and I talk sometimes endlessly all day. When I will admit that to be somewhat of a stalker, and sometimes I bother him even at work. I want to ask you this. Does the fact that I love, respect, and adore Steve Kidder, does it mean that I've peeled back the layers and I understand his deep, deep sense of humor? Because you've got to be thinking, because sometimes the stuff that he'll put on Facebook will make me laugh. And then later I realize he was making a serious point, and I get it. The fact that I get him, does that mean that my mind has disintegrated into mush?
I don't know. Maybe.
Or does that mean that I've been taken to a new level of enlightenment?
I think maybe the latter as opposed to the former. He does sometimes remind me of a little bit of George Carlin.
Yeah.
But probably looks a little bit more like Stephen Wright.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Stephen Wright's that guy that's like, why do they call him Jumbo Shrimp?
Yeah.
You know, he's that guy. Stephen Wright is super dry, ironic. He focuses on irony, doesn't he?
Yeah, somewhat.
Stephen Wright, that's kind of who he reminds me of. Not, who was the guy that sang Dreamweaver? Gary Wright?
Gary Wright.
There you go. Not that. I've never even seen Stephen Kidder karaoke.
Travis Gundelag asks if we've seen the cartoon Paw Patrol. I've seen the cartoon Paw Patrol.
I have.
With a grandson, have to watch it.
Hate it.
It's not bad, actually.
Dumb.
Apparently, Chase the Police Dog is now propaganda, and what did he say? And portrays the police in a positive light, so there are calls to remove his character. I guess we would hate for kids to still believe that policing is a noble profession. No, exactly. They've gotten rid of cops. They canceled live PD.
Look, man, there's bad doctors out there. There's doctors out there that operate when they shouldn't. There's doctors out there who are barely hanging on to their license. But when you get sick, you don't call 911 and ask for happy thoughts. You call a doctor. And I would be the first to tell you, and there's no way to say this without potentially offending law enforcement people. So you just got to say the facts. If law enforcement paid more, you'd have better people in law enforcement. There are people that make the
No,
decision.
not necessarily. You might still get some of the same people looking for a bigger paycheck.
Well, but you have people in law enforcement, I hope, who make gee, I ain't doing that for this amount. I mean, these are people that when 9/11 happened, it wasn't Democrats that were running up those stairwells, dragging people out of the World Trade Centers while it was collapsing. It was law enforcement people and firemen who ran to the danger. They do it on your behalf every day. How much can you really? Most of you folks are weak. You're sheep and you're helpless. You're all, screw the police until you see somebody in your yard you don't know. And is that a black man? Call 911. We want the cops when we need them. And when we don't think we need them, we don't want to see them. And we dang sure don't want them touching anybody. I tell you what, a guy like George Floyd, yes, we've stated it here emphatically, so my opinion can resonate without worrying about being a hypocrite. We said here, it is a tragedy the way that man's life was taken. It was wrong. That Derek Chauvin, we usually don't even mention perpetrators on the air. He's a bad cop. He's a bad individual. He needs to be punished for the murder that he committed. But George Floyd ain't MLK, people. Multiple arrests, held a gun to a woman's belly when she was pregnant to threaten her. None of this is allegedly. They pulled up his record. People want to name streets after this guy. This guy was a meth head. I understand. I know that I don't have the mentality or the mental makeup to be a law enforcement officer because I get tired of people like George Floyd. I don't get tired enough to kill anybody. But I think maybe that's where Derek Chauvin was, and maybe that's why he shouldn't be a cop.
Well, or what do? Do you stop? All right, fake 20 is no longer a crime. Being high is no longer a crime.
I mean, when Nancy Pelosi's giving away $3 trillion of essentially fake money, who cares? If the guy wants to give away a fake 20, take it. Did you see the other day, the Antifa folks got some money, or Black Lives Matter, one of the groups, didn't mean to lump them together, two totally separate kind of groups. But it was fake $1 bills that came from China. So you start wondering, is China trying to fund disruptive organizations with fake money?
Possibility.
I tell you who only takes real money, that's Uncle Mutt's Barbecue. They'll take it on your credit card, debit card.
Real cash.
Brother Gary ate there last night.
Turkey, chicken,
Ribs,
sausage, brisket.
ribs, all the sides. What I like also is they've got that little bar out there, Brother G, where you've got all the like the green onions. You can have sliced jalapenos. You can have the whole jalapenos. You can have. They've got those kind of make the back of your jaw hurt dill pickles.
Fried corn yesterday.
Got the
Love their fried
corn.
sweet corn.
And,
You get Brother G's age, you ain't got to worry about it. I mean, he ain't going to die of cholesterol.
oh man, I'm
Eat
fine.
whatever you want. But we do have to remind him at his age. You got to talk right into the microphone, brother.
Oh, I didn't know I was.
Well, you can't sit there and start yapping around when nobody can hear you.
Mr. Biden, talk to the microphone, Mr. Biden.
Hold on, we got to finish the break up. But we were just talking about Uncle Mutts, and you were espousing how well Uncle Mutts was and how good it was. So we had to,
We haven't talked about Gray Barn Design yet. Cheryl,
That lady that runs it.
she's,
Me
tell you
too.
what, she could have married better.
she could have.
920-6803.
Thankfully, she didn't.
Reach out to Cheryl and let her help your next event be memorable. That's the beautiful thing. I want to have a party. Ash and I are going to have a party. I bet we get a discount. We're going to have a party when we decide that there's no longer a pandemic, and we're going to have a band.
Well, it's a good thing we're not in California. We'd have to call it a protest in order to have more than 12 people
That's
there.
what we'll do. We'll have the Wade and Carter protest. And then we'll have a raffle where we'll give away like a TV or something. And you can act like you stole it. I like it. Go on, take the TV and run.
I back her up because she knows what she's doing.
920-6803. We'll let her showcase her talents. We'll give her like a $50 budget. We'll just have a bunch of LED votive candles.
Yeah, I know what she'll do. She'll tell you to go find somebody else.
There you go. But Went Services, great time, folks. On a serious note, it is storm season. You should be mentally prepared. You probably should have.
Should be physically prepared as well.
That's right. And the way to do that is to have a Generac generator or shop it. Kohler, Cummins, Briggs & Stratton. They've got them all at Went. They install, they service, they'll take care of you on that end. They also have solar panels that feed into a Generac backup battery pack that allows your solar power from the day to run your appliances and things at night. It's genius. Went is on the cutting edge of this and they've got all the options. They're kind of like Clayton Help. With SCT, he doesn't care if you want bricks and sticks, if you want red iron and purlin, whatever you want.
Good boy.
That's the same as Went. No matter what kind of generator you want, let him do the comparing for you.
Yep.
Reach out to Went Services today.
Sky Sanchez may have summed this up the best. There's a bad piece of fruit in every batch of fruit. Doesn't mean all fruits are bad and lack taste. And when you think about it from that way,
She's trying to make over that F.
Yeah, maybe so.
She's doing.
But that's all right. We'll forgive her.
She's trying. Good job,
If
Shelby.
I get a basket of strawberries and there's a moldy one in there, don't throw the whole basket out. You throw the one moldy strawberry out, right?
Dawn throws the whole basket out.
If you got an apple that's got a little brown spot, you cut that piece off, right?
Why's it got to be brown? Why's it got to be a brown spot?
Didn't eat that banana with that bruise on it.
If you got an apple with a white spot, wouldn't you cut that off too?
We ate around that bruise spot.
There is no white spot on an apple, is there?
That's called white privilege.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Somehow that's your fault. No, it's Donald Trump's fault. That's about how
You get an
silly some of
orange.
the conversations
Yeah,
are.
no, really. One little orange slice is sour. I don't throw the whole orange out.
Big J Nelson says, do you have to pay for the test? I thought COVID tests were free. I don't know. I'll tell you this. I saw Sam Ellinger. We're going to segue gently into the sports moment.
You got some good stuff here.
Sam Ellinger took a video of one of the Texas defensive backs getting tested as the players come back to campus. They had to be tested. Well, this kid, have you been tested? Did you have to be tested with your hospital
They check
stuff?
your temperature all the time, every day.
Well, he runs a little hot. Well, bless his heart. And they had a swab about that long you've seen them at the doctor's office. They're a wooden dowel and there's a cotton tip on it. And this kid's back and there was no foreplay here. This guy just takes it, just goes right back to the back of his throat. The kid, this is a tough kid. He's going, oh man. Oh, and you hear the guy go, be still. And he's got it back there, and he's like going like this because he's swabbing the back of his throat by his nasal passage. It made my stomach hurt. I had like that, whatever you call that, associative empathy or something, But I was like, that's enough. I'm like, going, that's enough. And he like 15 seconds of poking him. And I was like, dude. Yeah.
Start giving the letters of the alphabet.
They do that to me, and they might come out with a COVID boogie.
All the vowels there.
He played his have a point deal.
Well, because Stephen Kidder says his protest is let Gary talk.
Yeah.
Oh, really? We're not on a time clock here, Kidder. We're not on a time clock.
Gary said he's got some good stuff. Hint, hint, James Kurth.
I'm not even sure that Ralph came in yesterday. Hang on a second. Go ahead.
He was running like
We now turn this forward to Brother.
Well, let me give you quickly a couple of community events. Of course, Parade of Homes, y'all get there, boys. Use those cards.
Ben.
Parade of Homes, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Warriors Weekend benefit over there at Schrader Hall Saturday. No Chance Band's playing.
I'll be there.
Captain Legendary Band, and there's one other now out of the bill. I can't remember his name.
Right.
Solo act, I think.
Brent and his kazoo.
And his cowbell.
Yeah, we'll play. And then also Goliad Market Days back in action and Goliad on Saturday. So you got Parade of Homes, Warriors Weekend at Schrader. Goliad Market Days. There's some good stuff. Before we go to sports, I got some good stuff.
Come on, man.
So you can start with the market days as you protest the Presidio.
Okay, we can't have that now.
Oh,
Okay. Pro football and tennis, boys. Who do you think #1 team that drew the most people in 2019 on an average game?
Dallas Cowboys.
Sure, 90,000. They filled it up. Now there's some.
No, there's still some room there. That's about 10,000 less.
They go over 100,000, but they was pretty much set up for about 90,000 for football.
Right.
They can do other. Second, New York Jets, 78,000 each game.
Which just goes to show that you don't have to be a good team.
To have good
You just
fans.
need a big population.
Or that.
The Giants,
Yeah.
the
The
Giants.
Meadowlands.
Giants are fifth at 74,000, so they don't get as much as the Jets. Packers third, 77 over 70.
Well, the Giants are the thinking man's and the
Yeah.
money fans. The Jets are blue collar.
4,000.
And there's not 77,000 people in Green Bay, Wisconsin, I don't think.
No, but they got it.
They drive in.
And the Broncos were fourth at 75. The Texans could not put it in 71,000. They were ninth.
I'd like to know. I would bet that the Packers, as far as percentage of capacity, probably would lead the NFL.
Capacity, right?
Yeah.
Per head, or whatever.
They probably didn't hold the
Sell out.
70. They
No, we
might
hold
sell out every game.
77,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dallas over 90, and that's number one. All right, Rockets. Let me go. I got a little baseball, football, and basketball.
Come on, brother G.
Rockets say they owe James Harden an apology, guys. They owe him an apology.
Why?
Not winning the title. They should have won a title with him. They said, we owe you an apology. Last 7 seasons, average votes for the most valuable player, 2 guys at the top. One guy, of course, he's
LeBron.
Right, he gets 53% of the vote average over the 7 years. Second, who do you think? it is?
Kobe, because he
No,
died.
you just said. Well, Kobe, but he's been out now.
With James Harden.
James Harden was second, 47%. So 53,
What's the purpose?
LeBron.
What's the purpose of apologizing to James Harden that you
That's
didn't
what
win a
I said.
championship?
And what's interesting about
Is that because of the political climate we're in? We're apologizing for everything?
Well, they said that we've had a good enough team to win the show.
No, they haven't.
I didn't know that
They haven't had a good enough team to win. They haven't won a thing.
That's
I
what
didn't
they're
know their
saying.
ownership was Canadian. We're
Lord
sorry.
Almighty.
Did they say we're sorry? We're sorry. But
You're-
you know, Gary,
Your management is wrong. If your management thought that team was good enough to win and you didn't win, you didn't build a good enough team to win.
maybe that's what they were saying.
I got you excited.
And maybe that's what they were saying. We should have done better by you.
That's what they're saying. That's what I took out of it.
But I try to translate that back to a guy like Michael Jordan. Of course, he played 6 times and won 6 times.
You'll love this one, Michael Jordan. All things Michael Jordan. I just thought that's good.
Michael Jordan didn't win anything in minor league baseball.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you know, so quick stat. Did you know that Michael Jordan I watched in the documentary, and one of the White Sox guys said, you know, we did Michael a disservice. We only got him about 200 at bats, and the guy hit 200.
yeah.
And the guy said,
200.
and let me tell you though, the guy said, I don't have any doubt that if Michael Jordan could have had about 600 at bats, he would have been a very serviceable major
That's
league
what
hitter.
I read that too.
I find that interesting. He's
Well,
just a
an
great athlete.
Yeah.
He's an athlete. Well, all things Michael Jordan, here's one on him. Got it, boys. He's participating this week in a fishing tournament. He's got a big boat, 80-footer, and he's taking his team out there and take a big rock fishing tournament, something like that, off the coast. And he hauled in yesterday a blue marlin weighing 443 pounds.
Who did that, Jordan?
Jordan is a team.
That's
Put a
nothing.
ring
No,
on
it's
it.
not the big. It's
Send it
fifth
back.
place right now. They got 2 more days left of the tournament, fishing tournament. He's in 5th place. The biggest one in is close to 600 pounds right now. He's in 5th.
It's nothing.
Nothing.
Captain Tyler Dick, a couple weeks back,
What do you do?
almost 700-pound blue
Well,
marlin.
this one.
Didn't count for the money, but I'm just saying
Yep.
everything's bigger in Texas.
Tyler, my boy.
Watch how soon the Air Jordan line will include like some water shoes and things like that.
Coming. I'm just telling you.
And he'll
it's
make it
coming.
Fishing shirts. Yep.
It's coming.
The Air Jordan.
Well, he couldn't quite do it on the poker.
Can you see him on the screen though? He's out there with a big old cigar, just fishing. Great stuff.
I can
And he
see
wasn't
it
quite
right
good enough golfer to.
now.
translate
I
it
like
there.
Michael.
Yeah,
I
him
like
too.
Michael.
Yeah, no, I don't have a
He
problem with
does it all.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball proposed 89 games from July 10th to October 11th, prorated salaries. Owners say that's too much. They want closer to a 54-game schedule with playoffs right there.
Yep.
That game.
Brother Gary
He
repeat.
heard that on Wade and Carter
You heard
yesterday.
that? Y'all had that
Yeah,
yesterday?
we did. But
I
that's
heard the earlier one about statue on me. Though.
it's okay. It'll be in tomorrow's newspaper, but we talked about it yesterday.
All right, you don't have this one, or you may remember. Football players drafted by a baseball team. I'll give you the last one here.
Oh,
Tom
Jackson.
Brady, what round was he picked in, boys? You remember that?
Like
The
late football.
Montreal Expos in 1995, 18th round as a catcher.
Ooh,
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes it. Hey,
good arm.
good arm.
Hard to deflate a baseball.
two more. Patrick Mahomes, 37th round. He was picked in 2014. They wanted him as a starting pitcher in Detroit. Detroit Tigers picked him.
I wouldn't have gone to the Tigers.
They picked him, though.
If you're not
37th
Tom
round.
Selleck, you don't look good in a Tigers.
And you're not getting much of a signing bonus at 37th round. That's why they picked him in the 37th
Right,
round,
yeah.
just for
For
publicity,
publicity.
because they knew he was going to play football.
How about Russell Wilson? What team do you think picked him?
Where did he even play college ball?
I don't know. Can't remember.
Yeah, I can't either, but 2007, he was picked in 41st round.
Ugh.
Well, these are
They don't even have 41 rounds anymore.
No, but five, right? Baltimore Orioles picked him. But that's the top three players, some of the top three, and they all were picked for baseball because they're athletes.
See, when I look
Well,
at those
Kyler
guys,
Murray, wasn't he in Oakland?
Yeah, that's right.
Had to get back a signing bonus, right?
Kyler Murray should have played baseball.
He's good.
I'm going to go back and tell you the greats. What's the guy's name? Dave Winfield was wanted by I want to say he played in Minnesota.
Yeah.
He was a major league drafted player, an NFL drafted player, and a NBA.
MLB, or
I
yeah.
loved him.
NBA player.
I watched him.
Also, Kirk
Gibson.
Gibson was
Kirk
a
Gibson.
football player at Michigan who played a little baseball and then became
At that time, probably made more money in baseball than he would have in the NFL.
Tony Gwynn.
Depends, yeah.
Tony Gwynn, drafted by the Clippers and the Padres.
See, you know your sports. You got your sports.
He went to San Diego State on a basketball scholarship.
Oh, yeah. He multi-dimensional, man.
Some people are just
Who's the pitcher for the Braves? Tom,
Glavine,
drafted by the Boston Bruins.
hockey player.
Play some
I
hockey.
had to get a little hockey. Now, I couldn't find a thing on hockey.
When you start doing that,
Chris Conrad, Russell Wilson, Wisconsin. Thank you, sir.
it always reminds me
Thank you.
of. I mean, we've had some great athletes. Alan Ramirez was a great
Oh,
baseball
man.
player.
Worked his ball games.
Don Oliver was a great baseball player. Of course,
He was.
Doug Drabick, great players.
I worked those ball games, all those boys.
But none of them, nobody in our town, Ronnie Gant, great baseball
He's
player,
great.
nobody was ever Ronnie Thomas. Ronnie Thomas was the greatest multi-sport athlete I've ever been
I
around.
saw him. I worked with him. He went to Patty Wilton. I taught Ronnie and all the brothers and sisters, Preston, the whole crew. That boy, they couldn't stop him. In the 7th grade, they couldn't stop. 8th grade, and they never stopped him.
No, he was
That's what
the
Strowman had,
best.
right? Ronnie Thomas.
That's all they had. If
That's it.
he was the best football player as far as being, he was a tremendous running back. If you want, I'm just telling you
Oh, he
with
was great.
sincerity.
Remember those ball games?
Great basketball player.
Did we pack him
Oh.
down there? Oh, my
Great
God.
competitor. And if he would have had a, and I'm not saying anything about his family, I'm talking about his sports family. If he'd had a really strong mentor on the sports
That boy
side,
could have played
he
anywhere.
could have played Major League Baseball forever.
He planted his foot in the ground. He came out of that position.
He was just that guy
That's
that
that good. I wish you'd have seen him.
he
sir.
found a way to beat you.
Wish you'd have seen
Yeah.
him. Good kid.
Yeah.
All right. The man's over here.
Yeah,
Brother,
he's
man, we
knocking on the
love you.
door.
He's back in the green room sulking. I hope he's not drinking
We want
again.
to add to it. Love you guys.
Hey, we love y'all.
God bless y'all.
Right,
Ralph,
folks.
thanks for the time. Y'all have a great day.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye. Did you like it? Did we do good on it?
Hey, Jeep is still going.
Oh, yeah, hang on one second.